My dear Fright fans, tonight's tale is about igniting the flames of truth in the darkest of corners. Before you bury yourself in the shadows, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to unearth more tales from the crypt. Prepare yourselves for the Flickering Light. In the quaint town of Derry, Maine, there stood an old library, its walls heavy with the musk of forgotten tales and unspoken histories. The Derry Public Library was a relic, a remnant of an era long gone, and Emma Thompson, at 40, had become its silent guardian. Her life, much like the library, was a collection of quiet moments and whispered secrets. Emma's days were spent amidst the towering shelves of books, cataloguing and preserving. She found comfort in the predictable rhythm of her work, a solace that had eluded her since the tragic death of her younger sister in a fire during their childhood. The library was her escape, a world where she could immerse herself in the stories of others and forget her own. One autumn evening, as the sun cast its golden hues through the stained glass windows, Emma stumbled upon a forgotten wing of the library. It was in this secluded corner that she first noticed it, a light flickering erratically, as if struggling to maintain its grip on the present. Curiosity piqued, Emma approached. The air around her grew colder, the silence of the library deepening. As she reached out to touch the light, a jolt of electricity surged through her, and for a moment, the world blurred. When her vision cleared, Emma found herself standing in the same library, but it was different. The electric lights were gone, replaced by gas lamps, and the air was thick with the scent of burning wood. The murmur of voices filled the room, a stark contrast to the usual silence. Shaken, Emma retreated from the light, finding herself back in her time. She was left with an unshakable feeling of having touched something ancient, something that transcended time. The encounter ignited a flame within Emma. She began to delve into the history of the library, poring over old records and newspaper archives. She learned of a fire that had ravaged the original building in the late 1800s, a tragedy that had claimed several lives. Among the names of the deceased, one stood out: Abigail Porter, a young woman whose portrait in the archives bore a striking resemblance to Emma. Intrigued and unnerved, Emma dug deeper, uncovering that Abigail had been a distant relative of hers. Meanwhile, Emma's interactions with the flickering light became more frequent and intense. She started experiencing longer periods in the past, each time gaining more insight into Abigail's life and the events leading up to the fire. It was during one of her research sessions that Emma met John Hawthorne, a historian with a keen interest in the library's past. John was researching the town's history, particularly the unsolved mysteries surrounding the old library fire. Together, they unraveled layers of history, finding hints of a scandal and a cover-up tied to the town's most influential families. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Abigail's story was a mirror to her own, a tale of loss and unspoken grief. As Emma delved deeper into the mystery, the line between her reality and the visions began to blur. She found herself drawn to the flickering light, as if it held the key to her own liberation from the past's grip. In the weeks that followed, Emma's visits to the library's forgotten wing became more frequent. Each encounter with the flickering light peeled back layers of the past, revealing glimpses of Abigail's life. Emma saw her in the library, her face illuminated by the soft glow of a gas lamp, her expression etched with a mix of determination and fear. These visions, while mesmerizing, left Emma exhausted, her mind a whirlpool of unanswered questions. Why was she, a woman in the 21st century, so intrinsically tied to a long-dead ancestor? And what was the secret that lay buried in the ashes of the library fire? John, who had become a regular presence in Emma's life, offered a theory. "It's like you're the medium, Emma," he said one evening as they pored over old maps of the town. "Through you, Abigail's story is finally being heard." Emma wasn't sure what to make of it. The idea of being a conduit for a restless spirit was unsettling, but it was the only explanation that made sense. She felt a responsibility to uncover the truth, not just for herself, but for Abigail. Their research uncovered that the library fire had been a turning point for the town. Families that were once powerful had faded into obscurity, while others rose to prominence. The cause of the fire had been officially recorded as an accident, but Emma and John found several inconsistencies in the reports. One evening, as the winter chill set in, Emma made a discovery. In a brittle, yellowed newspaper from 1894, she found an article about a town council meeting held weeks before the fire. The council had been in the midst of a heated debate over a controversial land deal, one that promised to change the face of the town. "The land where the library now stands," Emma murmured, tracing her finger over the faded print. Abigail's family was against the deal. They said it would ruin the town's character. "That might be our missing link," John said, leaning in closer. "If the Porters were vocal opponents, someone might have wanted to silence them." The puzzle was slowly coming together, but with each piece, Emma felt a growing sense of dread. The past was not just a story, it was alive, and it was reaching out to her. As December approached, the visions became more vivid. Emma found herself walking in Abigail's shoes, feeling her fear and desperation. She saw the night of the fire through Abigail's eyes, the flames licking the walls of the library, the suffocating smoke, the screams. One night, after a particularly intense vision, Emma awoke with a start. Her heart was racing, her nightgown soaked with sweat. She had seen something new, a man's face, twisted with rage, holding a lantern. The Arsonist. Emma knew what she had to do. She had to find out who he was and why he had done it. The answer, she realized, lay in the town's history, in the tangled web of alliances and grudges that had defined it for generations. With John's help, Emma delved into the town's archives, unearthing old property records, council meeting minutes, and personal correspondences. The deeper they dug, the more they realized that the fire had been a catalyst for change, a way for certain individuals to reshape the town to their liking. As the pieces fell into place, Emma felt a change within herself. The visions were no longer just glimpses of the past. They were messages urging her to bring the truth to light, but with the truth came danger. Someone in the town, a descendant of those responsible for the fire, was watching her. Emma could feel it, a shadowy presence lurking just out of sight. As winter's grip tightened around the town of Derry, Emma found herself enveloped in the dual mysteries of the library fire and her inexplicable connection to Abigail. The line between past and present blurred further, the visions growing more frequent and intense. In one of these visions, Emma watched helplessly as Abigail discovered a hidden letter revealing a conspiracy to burn the library down to pave the way for the controversial land deal. The realization struck Emma like a bolt of lightning. The fire hadn't been an accident, it had been a deliberate act of sabotage. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Emma and John intensified their investigation, digging deeper into the town's archives. They uncovered a network of secret dealings, betrayals, and corruption that had been masterfully hidden for over a century. One evening, as they were sifting through a box of old letters and photographs in the library's attic, Emma found a faded photograph of the town council from the 1890s. Her blood ran cold as she recognized the face of the arsonist from her vision. It was a prominent council member, Edward Hathaway. "John, look at this," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's him, the man from my vision." John peered at the photograph, his brow furrowing. Edward Hathaway. His family still lives in town. They're one of the wealthiest families in Derry. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. The implications were enormous. Exposing the truth would shake the very foundations of the town. It would mean accusing one of its most influential families of a heinous crime. As they delved further, they discovered that the Hathaways had profited immensely from the fire, acquiring land at rock-bottom prices in the aftermath. It was clear that the Fira had been a calculated move to eliminate opposition and pave the way for their rise to power. Emma knew what she had to do. She had to bring the truth to light, not just for Abigail's sake, but for all those who had suffered because of the Hathaways' greed. But as they prepared to go public with their findings, Emma started receiving ominous threats. Anonymous phone calls in the dead of night, a brick through her window, a chilling note warning her to stop digging. Emma realized that the Hathaways were watching her, ready to do whatever it took to keep the truth buried. Fear gripped her heart, but she refused to back down. She owed it to Abigail, to her sister, and to herself. The visions reached their climax on the eve of the Library's anniversary. Emma found herself in the library, the fire raging around her. She could feel the heat of the flames, the terror of the people trapped inside. In the midst of the chaos, she saw Abigail, her eyes filled with determination and sorrow. Abigail turned to Emma, and for a moment their eyes met across time. "Reveal the truth," Abigail whispered, her voice barely audible over the roar of the fire. "Set us free." Emma awoke with a start, her heart pounding in her chest. The vision had been a message, a plea from the past. She knew what she had to do. The next day, Emma and John called a press conference, presenting their evidence to the world. The revelation sent shockwaves through the town, the Hathaways' facade of respectability crumbling to dust. In the aftermath, Emma felt a sense of closure. She had honored Abigail's memory and brought justice to those wronged by the fire. The flickering light in the library had ceased, its purpose fulfilled. As she walked through the library's halls, Emma felt a deep connection to the past, a sense of peace that had eluded her for so long. She had faced her fears, confronted the ghosts of her past, and emerged stronger. In the wake of the revelation, the town of Derry was engulfed in a maelstrom of emotion. For Emma, the days following the press conference were a blur of interviews, meetings, and quiet moments of reflection. The Hathaway family, faced with irrefutable evidence of their ancestors' misdeeds, retreated from public view, their legacy tarnished beyond repair. As the dust settled, Emma felt a profound sense of relief. She had faced a daunting truth, not only about the town's history, but also about her own family's past. In bringing justice to Abigail and the other victims of the fire, she had found a way to reconcile with her sister's untimely death, a tragedy that had haunted her for years. The library itself became a focal point for the town's healing process. Emma spearheaded a project to create a memorial for the victims of the fire, a serene space in the library where people could come to remember and reflect. The once-forgotten wing was restored, transformed into a historical exhibit detailing the events surrounding the fire. John, who had been instrumental in unraveling the mystery, became a regular fixture in Emma's life. Together, they had not only uncovered a dark chapter in the town's history, but had also forged a deep, unspoken bond. As the anniversary of the fire approached, the town held a ceremony at the library. People from all walks of life gathered, paying their respects to the victims. Emma stood before the crowd, a sense of solemnity and purpose in her stance. "Today, we remember those who were lost in the tragedy of the fire," Emma said, her voice steady and clear. "But we also celebrate the resilience of the human spirit. The truth has set us free, allowing us to move forward with hope and understanding." The crowd listened in silence, moved by her words. Emma felt a warm glow of satisfaction, knowing she had done her part in mending the town's wounded soul. After the ceremony, as the guests dispersed, Emma lingered in the memorial space. The names of the victims, including Abigail's, were inscribed on a plaque. She traced her fingers over the letters, a silent tribute to her ancestor. "You did it, Emma," John said, joining her. "You've given them peace." Emma nodded, a tear escaping her eye. "And in doing so, I've found my own." In that moment, Emma realized that the flickering light had been more than a bridge to the past. It had been a catalyst for change, a way for her to confront her deepest fears and emerge stronger. As she and John left the library, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and red, Emma felt a profound sense of completion. The ghosts of the past had been laid to rest, and a new chapter in her life was beginning. The library, once a place of haunting mysteries, had become a beacon of hope and reconciliation. Emma knew that her journey had forever altered the course of her life, intertwining her story with the library's timeless narrative. And as she walked away, hand in hand with John, Emma realized that the greatest stories were those that revealed the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of times. As the ashes settle and the echoes of the past whisper through the halls of Derry, my ghoulish guests, every light, no matter how faint, can dispel the shadows of history. Leave us a comment with your thoughts on the power of unearthing hidden truths. Fright fans, click next for more chills and hit subscribe to join our ghastly gang. You see, who dares to miss out, so watch our next video.